From Charleston to Alcatraz, from the halls of Lizzie Borden's house to the locked-down facilities most investigators never see. Phil Summers has chased the unexplained for decades. Known as the Ghost Theorist, he brought a specific scientific eye, an Air Force discipline, and an intuitive edge to the paranormal, solving mysteries with only fragments of information. Tonight, we step into the mind of a man who turned curiosity into history and left behind a legacy of innovation that helped change the way investigators listen to the dead. That's next, right here on the Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. You won't know. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Quick announcement, because I am leaving for Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah tomorrow. There will be no live show Wednesday. I know. Your tear ducts are filling up as we speak, but fear not, I will be back Sunday night with a brand new episode of the Paranormal 360 over on WCCO Radio. You can find it by asking your smart devices to tune in to WCCO Radio every Sunday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Central, and it will automatically kick off for you so you never miss a minute of more of the entertainment of the paranormal. Tonight, though, we've got an interesting show for you lined up. Phil Summers joining us right here on the Paranormal 60. Good evening, Phil. Welcome to the program.
How's it going, Dave? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long while. About how long has it been since you visited with the show?
Was on Darkness Radio back in 2008.
Wow, so that was right in the beginning. I'd been on the air for 2 years, and now you're coming back to me just about cracking the 20-year mark. So it's been 18 years. Welcome back to the mix, Phil. It's good to have you here, and it looks like you've been a busy man over the last 18 years.
I've been very busy. I've gone all over the country, investigated paranormal. Whether it was working with bands or touring with bands and, visiting haunted locations that way through tours, touring in the music industry.
Sure.
Or, just basically being able to afford to investigate some amazing places.
Now, you were part of the military as well, correct?
I was a C-17 crew chief in the Air Force.
Very cool. First of all, thank you very much for serving the country.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, when you were in the military, and especially in the Air Force, did you talk to fellow Air Force officials to talk to them about the strange and the supernatural, UFOs, UAPs, strange creatures in our midst, ghosts, demons?
I actually got an LOR one time, which is a letter of reprimand for actually talking with officials sort of like that back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah, that was very frowned upon back in the day. But nowadays it's not too frowned upon, I don't think. But anyways, but yeah, there was a couple places on the base that I worked at where they allowed me to kind of do my thing and talk to a psychologist a couple times to make sure I was okay.
Well, you passed, so congratulations. That's good news. When you were talking about this, was it a surprise to you that the people in the military would take it in a way that would challenge your mental facilities and, put you on reprimand for just speaking openly about it?
I got a little bit too comfortable, and I felt like I got trapped a little bit.
Oh.
But I was put in a position that, I don't know. It's almost like I felt, I went into the Air Force right out of high school.
Right.
So I was 17 years old, right in the library. And so a year's worth of basic training, and then another year worth of tech school, and then a lot of years after that, for the field training. um, you start to get the feel for how things are ran around the world. And you get a sense that there's a big world out there that UAPs and UFOs, it's a sensitive topic that I think the Pentagon just released some information not too long ago that are that's gonna disappoint a lot of people that are into the whole UAP thing.
No, I understand. And I know you're more of the ghost guy, and I'll get into that. I just thought it
Yes.
was interesting being in the military, how many of you actually talk to other people that you serve
Oh
with.
we did for sure talk about it, but it was like under like a hush hush. Like
Did you live on base?
I had to for tech school, but
Mhm.
during the weekends I would go straight home because my house is like literally 10 minutes away, and they would never even know that.
That's funny. Now, the reason I ask is that there seems to be quite a few of the military installations where people live that are well known to be haunted. And I've talked to military personnel, military, ex-military wives who have told me, yeah, we were stationed on base and it was horrible. We couldn't wait to get out of there. I'm like, oh, you didn't like living that close to the military? They're like, oh no. Our dorms, our homes, our places were haunted. And I've heard that repeatedly.
Yes, that is a repeated thing that I've heard as well, in military installations,
Yeah.
not just
Did you
Air
come
Force.
across any strange paranormal phenomena ghost wise while you were out there serving?
Uh, well, now you know how people are when they hear you do things like this, they test you out.
Right.
Of course, they allowed me to investigate a couple places that on base that I can't really, I don't really want to name
Okay.
specific names, but yes, I did, and I was allowed to, and they tested me out, and I was like, dude, yo, just tripping.
So
I was like, I didn't experience anything when I investigated.
what spurred your interest in not just reading about or examining the case of the paranormal, but actually getting out there and investigating for yourself?
Well, when I was young, I would come home and the show A Haunting, I don't know if you remember that show,
Sure. Right.
would come on, and uh, some of my favorite pastimes was coming home straight from school watching that show. And of course, I live in Charleston, South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and plenty of cemeteries around to kind of explore. And
Is it
so that's how.
Charleston? Is it Charleston, South Carolina, where the gray man or the gray woman is seen?
Yes,
Where
yeah,
when bad
yes.
weather's coming, usually they appear.
During hurricanes, whenever
Right.
there's a hurricane event, the gray man appears. There's legends like that all around, even like cryptids on like there's apparently some ghost dog that just like well at the pineapple, if you like hang out around there enough, like you'll see it and it'll like growl at you with like demon red eyes. I've heard stuff like that. But one of the locations that I became acquainted with was the Old City Jail in Charleston, South Carolina. And I've been investigating that place. That's kind of my ground zero of where things started. Like in the bigger upper echelon of locations.
Mhm.
So with that location under my belt for my first one, I kind of got a pretty good step in the game.
Yeah. 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 I would guess that's a nice launching off point. Now, you call yourself the ghost theorist. Why? What's the meaning behind that? And give us a little explanation and understanding.
Well, when I was a kid, I was known as the Ghost Box Kid because we started hacking those 12587 radio shack, AM FM portable radios. Then after that, the SB7s came out where there was a constant stream that was already in play, and when you turned it on, you didn't have to hack anything. It was just there.
Right.
So that kind of led to a sort of interest in the audio aspects of the paranormal. And I focused on audio because I felt like if there was going to be any sort of realness in this industry, audio is going to be where you could go to the courts and say, hey, I got this piece of evidence that it's circumstantial, but hey, look at it. And if it's recorded something that shouldn't be there, then you may have something that maybe a little bit more substantial than circumstantial.
Well, a lot of people, kind of deride the whole ghost box phenomena, saying that
It
it's
was a gimmick.
audio pareidolia, that we're hearing things we think we want to hear. What's your take on the origin on spirit boxes in general? Do you believe that we are getting some kind of intelligent conversation coming through that?
So the AM/FM radios focus on a really low frequency range that normal radio stations kind of don't really focus on. They get into the ham radio frequencies, which are the 40 hertz range.
Okay.
And so you're running with a longer wave form of sound and audio. And so sound travels in a wave, right?
Right.
So when you're recording these pieces of edits,
Right.
so when you're scrolling through the frequencies of the constant channel change, you could be getting like phone calls in there as well, coming from the
Right.
telephone lines and
Right.
stuff
I
like
understand
that.
the fallibility of that, but do you believe that there is any good evidence that is actually
Yeah,
coming from
the way that I used it is I used it as a extension of me. So every piece of equipment I've never let anybody ever borrow, ever touch if I was using it. So it would be an extension of me. It would be, like I'm the piece of equipment.
Right. I talk about that a lot, bonding with your equipment, feeling like work with one or two items repeatedly so that you become
Yes,
in sync
that
with those pieces of equipment. And I think that's when you start to get some much better response.
and better results. And that's what I was always about, was results. I didn't want to go to an investigation and just come, oh, I got this piece of evidence. Where does that evidence lead? And
Right.
that's why I call myself the Ghost Theorist, because I work on a grounded system of scientific method where I just run off of very little information, and I could like do this like Ben Affleck the account thing and just like put together a whole, you know, like a whole poster of a broader picture.
Okay. So when you're getting the audio that comes through there and you're bonding with it, so you're getting some kind of audio, what do you think it is that's coming through there? Are we really hearing voices of the dead? Are we hearing interdimensional transmissions? Are we maybe even tapping in psychically to the frequency and broadcasting our own thoughts and expectations?
So the way sound works, like you're speaking in your room right now.
Mm-hmm.
So do a little experiment. Put a digital voice recorder in your room and see if you don't get that same thing recorded. Like, say, for example, you record a sentence and see if you don't hear that days later in your recording device. So what's happening?
I mean, I'm sorry, you lost me on that. Do what now? Set up a recorder in your room.
Yeah,
Say-
yeah. Say a sentence of some sort, like something random,
Okay.
and then set it up to where a few days later you listen to the device that all the time you recorded. That's one part that people miss when they do EVP analyzation. They don't take the time to analyze every single step or wave or frequency of
Mhm.
getting, sometimes there's hours of recording. That's the part that people don't want to do the work on. And that they hope they get the disembodied voice that's right then and there. And what I did that I was good at is I took the time to listen to everything, every little frequency jump and change. I would I would catch that. I would catch it all, and I would put it in my computer. And if there's some sort of wave, I would listen to it.
Okay. So, but I guess I'm still not following the experiment. You set up the recorder, say a sentence, the wind is in the buffalo. What do you do? Just keep leaving it there to record and then listen to it a few days later?
Listen to it a few days later and see if the sound that you recorded from in that environment that you're in didn't bounce off any walls, and that wave did not bounce back to the recording device that you used to record.
So you're saying go in the room, say it out loud, then set up the recorder, leave it for a few days and see if you capture any EVP. Okay.
So what physicists call this, physicists have now, within the last year, given a name to this sort of audio phenomenon called second sound. And basically what second sound is it's a sort of a quantum scale of long wave, super long wave sound waves that are really trapped within like moisture in the air, like water droplets and stuff like that could like trap audio and like sort of kind of interfere with the wave.
Okay.
Because if you think of it this way. Okay, so if sound works in a wave system, think of it like a beach. All right, so you got the wave, and then the wave kind of gets on the coastline, and then the wave leaves an imprint in the sand, correct? And then the wave backs off, correct?
Right.
So based on that analogy, you could kind of get a sense on how sound works and how sound is recorded.
I'm getting a very weird voice popping in here. Just go ahead and keep talking. I'm going to mute my microphone and see if I can figure out where this is coming from. So please go.
Oh, are you sure you're not recording an EVP right now at the moment?
EVP, direct voice phenomena, is what it sounds like.
That's what it sounded like to me from my end. Huh, weird. I've had that happen on shows before.
Yeah, sometimes when we start talking about this, it'll start instigating something. But go ahead. You were starting to say with this experiment. Continue, please.
So with the experiment, just take the time and listen to it. That's the part that paranormal investigators, they do not do and focus on. They don't take the time to listen to audio. So a lot of people, they want to go into a location and they want to straight up just investigate, hope they capture something on camera, which rarely happens. Or sometimes they might get that orb, that ORB word that they like or whatever.
Right.
And then rarely do people want to focus on audio unless they get it right then and there and they could load it right then and there on their computer.
Right. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people will sit on the audio the longest. They love to review the video, watching for subtle visual changes. But yeah, the audio can be a task. Even
to be able to set it up on a computer and like produce it just like you're producing this show right now, it's a task, and it takes a lot of production work and time.
Yeah.
And that's something that people in the paranormal, they really don't want to take the time. They don't want to focus on is that time aspect.
Well, don't broad stroke. I think there might be some people that are lazy, but I know a pretty good passion for a lot of the people out in the field that spend a lot of time going through audio and video looking.
Oh yeah, there is. It's not everybody. It's not everybody, but for the most part, people that I've come across before in investigations that come in these events, the people off the street, they're like, yeah, let's get some ghosts now. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the sort of investigators I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
The randos off the street.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more with our guest, Phil Summers. We'll discuss more about the work in the field, some of the most haunted locations he's visited, and some of the most dramatic experiences that he's ever encountered. And we'll do that when we return to your home for the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader. This is our Paranormal 60.
How are you, Darklings? This is Mark Lanou, innovator, musician, world traveler, and no stranger to the paranormal. Come take a journey with me through this place we call life by picking up my new book, Reality Was Once the Tapestry of the Dreamer. It is available at Barnes & Noble online and will soon be available through other vendors. Get your copy by following the link in this ad or by visiting my official website at markallenlanou.com.
Phil Summers, our guest this evening here on the Paranormal 60, and we're talking about his career, his many investigations. Where would you say has been the most active spot you've ever visited, Phil?
Oh man, the old city jail takes a cake on that, on the most active spots.
And where is the old city jail?
What was that?
Where is the old city jail?
Oh, the old city jail in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
And I mean, everything from the poltergeist activity to the back down to the residual is there. So
like what kind, when you're talking poltergeist activity, are we talking things are flying through the air?
Yeah.
Really?
I've literally watched things fly, like tools in the basement fly off of a table, and like literally like. And then me and a partner of mine, we sat at another point in time, years later, we sat down and we listened to like screams in one of the areas where they had converted the room to a school. And we heard screams and like chairs moving. And when we went back up there, keep in mind, we were the only people in that place. There was nobody there. We checked, and we would go back up there and see the place is all just like scattered with like the desks and stuff, just like the chairs and everything, just like thrown everywhere. That kind of thing.
Wow. And what do you attribute it to? I mean, do you think that it is some kind of psychokinetic energy, or do you think that there are ghosts there? Or something else?
So yes, there are locations where I do think there is a sort of intuitive connection to the place where there's a mind your mind is projecting sort of a field of energy that could pump energy into the location. So you have sort of that thing going on with your mind, right? And then there's also the location element. How much EMF frequency, interference is there in the location, just like interfering with the frequencies of that location? Are you on ley lines? Just recently, it was discovered that some of the most, it didn't have to be traumatic, but emotional events in human history are connected to these sort of, there's quartz, there's a whole system of quartz between the crust of the earth and the inner core.
Yeah.
So there's a whole system of quartz crystals, and they're all pointing up at certain areas of the planet. So there's that element as well. There's a that was just recently, like, yeah, they, the
What are
pyramid.
you assuming means? What does that mean, though? I mean, so there's quartz underneath the crust. Is it that spirits are really be coming through there, or is it like a quartz radio?
And Earth is like a huge, just one huge, just like energy, just like energy trapped location with. I mean, think of it this way: if we went on Mars, would we be seeing ghosts? If we paranormal investigated Mars?
Well, according to the movie Ghosts of Mars, we would.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
because Mars lost its atmosphere,
right?
So all that stuff could have escaped out. I mean, if we went to Mercury, will we get that same paranormal activity there?
I don't know what bonds spirits to things, or do they choose to be here? Is gravitation and
that is a bit. There is a play of gravity that is called the geodetic effect in space, where by a major planetary body, or say, for example, a black hole warps space so much around that object that it's called the geodetic effect, and there is sort of in this effect, there is sort of a time delay, if you will. So
Gotcha.
there could be a connection there as well.
It's a lot to kind of chew on. I'm not. I mean, again, you're theorizing. You're living up to the name, the Ghost Theorist. That's the concept on it. I'm just not familiar with. We got to let one of us talk at a time, Phil, and I'm the host. Let me try doing that first, and when I get done speaking, you jump in. That's usually how the interview goes.
Sorry, Dave.
No problem. But do you think then is it working as a crystal radio receiver where these signals are all around us, and the crystals are picking up the signals, they're picking up the past, they're picking up the things, and they're just relaying it back like a TV or radio would?
Boom. Nail on the head.
All right.
We're right on the same page.
Good. So now you've got, and that's certainly an interesting philosophy and something I hadn't considered before, that's what's propagating that type of activity. So again, may not be stuff that we're legitimately hearing now, but like a shakak, it's something that's scanning constantly through the frequencies. Just once in a while, we're in the right place at the right time where we hear the radio burst, much like when my son's speaker kept going off while we were talking earlier. Once in a while, it would pick up a little frequency and something would come through it.
You got it, Dave.
So then does that mean that we are not surrounded truly by the spirits of the past, that they aren't really ghosts in the way that TV, movies, and books have created ghosts?
Basically, that's what I've gathered. It's not as spooky as TV and movies would portray, but there is sort of, say, for example, I mean, even the Native Americans talked about ghosts and different kinds of weird things that went on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the Native Americans thought about this stuff a long time ago. I mean, the Egyptians thought about this stuff. I mean, the Mayans thought about this stuff. So you talk about these civilizations that have stories of ghosts. So there's always going to be that storyline. But where did that story come from first? That's another question that I have in mind.
Well, we know about a piezoelectric field, right? That is created from stones that are under great pressure that are releasing energy bursts. So it could just be simply that the tsunami of energy on the planet shifts once in a while, and then it releases these transmissions, allowing us to hear the past maybe even the present or the future, depending on how time really folds on itself.
Well, that's a really good point because right now we're in a time period where the Earth is basically flipping its magnetic axis. And so north is basically becoming South Pole. And so how is that oh how is that affected through the time that we've been investigators doing this, Dave? How has that affected the paranormal? Has it become more active through the time of the Earth's magnetic field shifting, or has it become less? And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we would even begin to quantify or
quantify
start to
that.
measure that.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking these questions right now, because I don't know anybody who really is asking these questions. If there are, I'm sure they're out there.
Interesting thing Gary brings up. If you reverse the wires, a speaker becomes a microphone and vice versa. So that's an interesting philosophy as well to what you're saying, that if the magnetic poles are shifting, are we now broadcasting to them? And then when it shifts, they will be broadcasting to us. I mean, we have things like solar flares, which we know impact communications. If those solar flares come through, are they creating a template that's allowing things to bleed over that might have been masked before?
That's a very good point as well. The solar flares, I mean, there has been at least 6 times the Earth has gone through a period of where humanity would thrive, and then an event would happen, and then humanity thrives again, and then an event. Humanity thrives, and then another event. And so this time, I mean, how much of this stuff are we really experiencing that's not even that we could say that's stuck to this time frame that we are experiencing now, that we aren't getting, that's way back now that we're experiencing these pole shifts?
Mm-hmm. All right. Now that might start to explain the EVP phenomena, but how do you think that that plays into what's happening with visual perspectives of seeing spirits, seeing everything from mists to full-on apparitions?
So the way I okay, so the way I had this set as an analogy, I think of sort of a overhead projector that you'd see in school, if you remember those. So you have sort of like an emotion that's the clear sheet of paper that you would put on top of the brain, which is the mirror, the clear part where the mirrors kind of connect to the sheet. That's the brain. And then the light is the telepathic means of energy that we use to see this kind of stuff. And then what we see on the wall from that clear sheet of paper is what sort of is kind of recycled through our mind. It's kind of a cycle, if you will.
So what we're seeing is a projection of something.
Yes, of an
But that,
emotion.
are you saying that's why you and I could be standing next to each other and I can see a ghost and you can't? It was coming through the projection of my lenses?
If you are more perceptive of it. See, a guy like me that's been in the military, my fight or flight senses are kind of cut off. So for somebody that hasn't experienced a whole lot of trauma in their life, they would be a little bit more fearful of this stuff. We are basically opening up ourselves whenever we go on an investigation. That's where the intuitiveness and the science comes into play. We're opening ourselves up to this stuff. And would I say we don't know what it is, or we just keep on talking about it?
Well, you know, they talk about the fact that we get DMT across the brain. It crystallizes on the pineal gland, which is what they call the third eye. So if there is this crystallization that takes place there, and then it's bathed by DMT, natural DMT. Could that be the projector, the bulb, the everything that's all there? And, I guess if we're looking at crystals as a possibility, if that natural occurring crystal is within us, it could become a receiver, allowing some of us to see, which would then make, if we're investigating and we're encountering things, we do effectively become the antenna.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got it. Nail on the head.
So then when we're holding our equipment, which again is a good reason to not always hand it off to others, is you're becoming in sync with that piece of equipment. As you're receiving the information, your body is projecting it out into a frequency that can then be understood and analyzed.
Yes, sir. That's what I've been preaching for years.
Mark Lanou says, so are sensitives like biological fractal antennas? Not my belief, but a subject that portrays a hypothesis that could one day be theory. But how do you prove that?
I would say the CIA does a lot of work with that kind of stuff. And Stranger Things is sort of the series Stranger Things is sort of MK Ultra, sort of that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Right. Based upon that. There's so much. I mean, it's such a heady deal, but I would say then, Mark Lanou, to answer your question as well, is how do we go about testing this? How do we do this? There are tests that are being done, that there are mediums and psychics that have been hooked up to brain analysis machines. I can't think of EKG, ECG, something.
You got MRIs, EKG,
right? But I mean the
EKG.
ones that can actually read the brain signals, and they've done that and read the brain while these people are in a trance mode, when they're making communication and different parts of the brain light up. So it would show. But then I guess what would be interesting is, upon death, if a medium was willing to give their body to science, could we then check the areas that light up most in mediumship to see if there's a heavier crystallization? Is there a natural occurrence taking place in the template of the brain that allows them to tap in, get the information, and be able to translate that information?
That is a very good point, and I would say yes, there would be that means. And if some psychic out there would be able to donate their body to science, which I'm pretty sure there's probably some that haven't been wanting their body donated to science, but they were anyways. But yeah, it has been tested before, and they have used remote viewing and everything like that. Telepathic.
Right, that I know, but it's in the actual science of, okay, we understand the outcome of what this person's doing, but we still don't understand the mechanics or the mechanism to which they're tapping into. What is it that's doing that? So in this case, we would almost have to have the medium die right now. We take them in within moments of their death, open the brain to examine, because the crystallization process is going to immediately start to degrade if there is a lack of oxygen and blood that are going to be pumping to that area to keep it viable, right? It's pulling the juice from the battery. The battery may still be hooked up, but you're incapable of connecting, or maybe even seeing the diodes work at that point. So,
say for example, we were talking about pineal glands, crystallization of the pineal glands, and how there's, Earth is basically one big giant antenna, and we are like receivers. Think of this. How about the movie Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skulls? So those aliens were able to use their whole skull as a brain. Think about if that little gland was like the size of your head.
Well, sure. But again, that's a movie. So,
well, that's a movie, but that's also a thought process that we're working with here. We're kind of theorizing. We're theorizing a little bit. So, sure. So with that thought process in mind, it's been a long time since I've been able to talk to somebody with a like mind that could understand this kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know that I understand it, but I'm trying.
Oh, you're getting there. You're getting there. You're Your linear correlation to biological
Yeah,
findings.
Mark says linear correlation to biological findings would have to be considered.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? Yeah, when
Well,
you're working through the science of that, you're gonna have to take a look at both the theory, the application, and what are the results. Are you able to actually prove where this is going?
and
If
the other aspect, can we weaponize it?
Well, yeah, certainly that's something we don't need to worry about, but I'm sure we've got plenty of organizations out there doing their very best to try to do that right now. Let's take our final break of the show. We'll come back. We've got a lot more to discuss with our guest. We've got Phil Summers for the remainder of the show. When we come back, we'll hear about some of the other full-on experiences that Phil has had that has left him scratching his head. We'll deal with that when we come back to the Paranormal 60.
Now, during the Halloween season, the veil between the worlds gets thinner and the chills get real. Oh, so very real. Something is waiting in the dark, and it's calling your name. So answer the call this Halloween season for the Paranormal 60 presents Halloween Haunts and Hijinks, October 9th through the 12th, for a supernatural weekend you'll never forget. It's being held at the historic haunted Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Join Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and the host of the Paranormal 60 podcast. He's teaming up with Dalen Spratt from Ghost Brothers and Phantom Forensics. And we have heart-centered, intuitive Diet Renee for a weekend packed with spine-tingling experiences. You'll have 2 nights of live investigations and paranormal experiments, interactive workshops, gallery readings, and meet and greets, live presentations with experts themselves. This isn't just an event, it's a doorway to the unknown. So you have to ask yourself, do you dare cross it? Now, tickets are limited, so please book your Halloween Haunts and Hijinks adventure now at darknessevents.com. Again, that is darknessevents.com.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the Shadow, and welcome to Shadow Zine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadow Zine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadow Zine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
And it's out now, my friends. Go to shadowzine.com and you can order the brand new issue. I wrote it. It's all about the Warren UFO incident that took place in Warren, Minnesota, one of the best UFO incidents on record. And why it doesn't get more attention, I have no clue. But not only is this story near and dear to me because it's right here in my own home state of Minnesota, but I also got a chance to investigate that car from the UFO incident a year ago. And I uncovered something. And I share it with you in the brand new episode, or issue, I should say, of Shadow Zine. So go check it out, shadowzine.com. Order your copy today. Phil Summers, our guest. All right, Phil, let's start diving in. I want to hear some of the other experiences. I know people are interested to hear what you've actually seen and have had happen to you throughout your career. Obviously, 18 plus years of investigating this, researching it, and being out in the field. What is the most dramatic thing you've actually seen?
The most dramatic thing, I just talked about this earlier. The most dramatic thing that I had to have seen is when I was at Farrar Middle School in Iowa, and we were sleeping in the gymnasium. The team that I was with, we were sleeping in the gymnasium. I was kind of in dreamland a little bit, and I was noticing I was lucid dreaming, which I do a lot, and I was seeing this little, sort of a black mist kind of waltzing kind of going back and forth, circling around the gymnasium that we were sleeping in. The next thing I know, I wake up and I'm feeling like burns, like my whole chest is burning. And me and the teammate that I was with immediately ripped my shirt off because I was burning. And we saw like the 3 marks go down the chest of my body. And I believe I had that experience because I was in my most vulnerable state in my sleep. And that's usually where a lot of my paranormal stuff happens, in my sleep.
Okay. So you had this experience while you were sleeping, but woke up to the after effect.
Yeah, I woke up to the after effect. Yes, sir.
But
And
in your dream state, you believe you could see what it was that was bothering you.
yes, sir.
So, in a sense, were you bilocating? Were you physically laying there sleeping, mentally, psychologically, whatever you want to call it, outside of your body, witnessing what was taking place to you?
Yes, it was an out of body experience, sort of like I was kind of, sleeping, but in a lucid state where I was able to see everything around me.
Could they see you as well? I mean, not just the physical form, but the ethereal form of Phil Summers.
Probably, I had that theory that they were able to see me as I was sleeping, but as I'm awake, I'm more cut off because, like I said, my fight or flight senses are a little bit more.
Right. I don't think, maybe you didn't pick up on my question. You're unconscious, you're sleeping.
Right.
So obviously you're there. When you're in this state, you're out of body, you're seeing things.
In the astral form.
Right. In the astral plane, are they seeing you in your astral form as well, or are they only seeing your physical form?
I believe so. I believe there's a
I gave you
connection
2
there.
choices. Which one?
It's the they are seeing in the astral plane.
Okay, so they're seeing
are,
your astral form out of your body, not
yes,
just the physical form sleeping.
yes,
Okay.
because my physical form, my body's a little bit more adept and like adapted to the experience of the fight or flight senses turning on when you experience a haunting.
Okay. So that was obviously an important element for you, because not only did you see something and have this dreamlike experience, this lucid dream, but it left a physical mark. How long did those
Yes.
marks stay on there? I've had people report they get scratched, they lift their shirt, it's there. They go to show somebody else a minute later, completely gone. Not even a sign.
It was there. It was there for a week after that. Like it was deep. Like it burned.
Okay. And did you, again, I know this is weird to consider, but we do scratch and touch ourselves all the time. Is there a chance that while you were sleeping, you caught something? Did you look under your nails to see if maybe you had scratched yourself inadvertently while you slept?
You know what? I did. We checked everything. Me and my teammate, we checked everything, nails, all of it, and we couldn't find anything.
Melissa, who he says, hello, Phil Summers and Dave Schrader. Thank you for joining us, Melissa. Good to see you.
Hey, Melissa.
So let's talk about some of the other experiences you've had. Have you ever seen anything that you would consider to be part of the demonic realm?
I can't personally. I mean, I've seen the videos that.
I mean, for you specifically, have you physically seen or witnessed something you believe to be demonic? Do you think that
actually
scratching your chest was demonic?
I believe that scratching my chest was pretty bad, maybe demonic.
Okay.
And I would say so. Yeah, there's something in that school. I would say that there is something in that school that's negative. That's very negative.
Okay. Do you believe, though, that it's something that's what we would term demonic, or do you think that it's just an angry spirit lashing out? Or do you think it's an interdimensional being that you saw in a etheric state and it was lashing out at you?
From what I know about the demonic realm, I would say that this thing was not demonic, but a very negative, I guess, being entity. It was just a black mass, very black mass, kind of floating around, and then it just went like I looked directly at it in my sleep, and then it bum rushed me. That's when I woke up, and then it experienced scratches afterwards. But not only that, if anybody's ever seen that episode of my ghost story, I went to a location in Tilly Bend, Georgia, and me and the teammate that I went in the episode to that location to find a witch's gravestone that was hidden in the cemetery, because the cemetery was once a church. So they the witch and then dropped the body right there,
Right.
and then that's kind of how we figured that it was there. And then we saw the the weird horned looking gravestone that was unmarked, but it was actually it was marked, but we had to do a charcoal rubbing of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the name of the thing. It's called Nervy. With the backwards N. Never seen anything like that. Never seen any name like that. With the backwards N, ERVEY. And we were like, this has got to be it.
Now, have
And
you looked in any other language to see what that N reversed might mean?
the only time I've ever seen that in reverse was in the Nine Inch Nails band logo.
Okay. Well, I don't know that there are definitive choice to go to for all things paranormal, but fascinating nonetheless. How about in the concept of other beings, whether you want to call them alien or multidimensional or whatever? Have you ever encountered something along those lines?
Again, I would say this whole sleeve is nothing but a story of kind of a experience that I had in my. I keep on saying I see this stuff in my sleep because I'm a little bit afraid to say I might be a little bit intuitive because I'm a scientist. Like, I think like a scientist through and through. You know what I mean? I'm not a scientist, not a doctor, physicist, or anything like that, but I think like one. And I guess, okay, I'll tell a story. So back in 2014, I was still in the Air Force. So I was in bed again in this lucid state, staring up in my ceiling, and in this lucid state, I saw the roof of my room kind of disappear, and then this really blacked out shit, and you really could. It was so. I'll say craft more is circular.
Okay.
And it was so black. It was so black that you couldn't even see the curves, and you could still see the night past the shape.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this light, and I was kind of up in the crack, and I did
Now,
notice.
when you say that you're up in the craft, do you believe you were physically, or do you believe that your astral form was on this craft?
I believe that my astral form was on this craft.
Okay.
Because when you're in the craft, there was no like control panels or anything like that, like you would see in a plane, where you would see like a levers or steered wheels or anything like that would control this thing. But what I did notice was there was sort of it looked like black obsidian in there. That's kind of what I really want to say that this inside of this craft looked like. It was like clear black. I don't want to say glass, but more like an obsidian type material. And it had sort of where you would sit. It would have like a curve. It wouldn't have really like a 90-degree angle or any kind of 90-degree angles in there. And one thing I did see and I caught that I really truly remember is in this craft, like I said, there's no control panels, but there was a kind of like a projection of, a blue projection of constellations.
Okay.
I was like, holy crap, I know that constellation. That's Centauri. And I was like, wait, thinking the whole entire time. I was thinking, I wasn't really speaking, but I was thinking. But there was two beings in there with me, and they're the white, tall, blonde-haired, but the eyes were black.
Nordics?
Yeah, I would want to say Nordics.
Well, I thought the Nordics had the big ice blue eyes as well.
But see, that's why I don't want to call them Nordics, because they had black eyes. And like black cat, kind of like straight black, the way Fred Durst's guitarist from Limp Bizkit plays, and he has his eyes blacked out.
Yes,
on stage.
Right.
So it was much like that, and these two beings were like communicating with me, and kind of like not in a language that I've ever heard before, but it was like something like I was still able to understand what they were saying. I was like, okay, so we're going to this location, this cemetery, and they were like, just want to show you a tour, and then basically it went around this planet, which they had called Proxima Centauri B, and this is in 2014, and Proxima Centauri B, the planet was not found until 2016, was not discovered until 2016. And when in my dreams, when I saw this planet, it looked much like this. It looked dark. It had red, almost like Mars, but it looked like there was like some sort of mass sort of thing going on.
Okay. Was it like it was scorched earth?
Yeah, it was like scorched earth.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh man, this is sort of sad. And they're like, yeah, we're kind of losing our planet.
Wow. Does it ever make you wonder? I mean, just doing the things I've done, sometimes I question my own sanity, my own belief on what's taking place. Does it ever, especially when you're going this deep and this wide, does it ever make you struggle with your own reality?
Oh yeah, it gets to the point where I don't sleep for days. It'd be like 3 or 4 days I don't get any sleep just thinking about things. Just getting
that's not healthy for you, Phil.
I guess that's
do, huh?
what can you do? This is kind of my thing now. So
fascinating stuff. Phil, thank you for coming back on in 18 years. Nice to catch up with you again. See that your interest is still there. That you're bringing some new concepts to us tonight. Some are a little harder to follow and understand, but I think it's because it's something that's shifting a paradigm for us, forcing us to reassess things that we thought we knew or understood. So I appreciate you bringing some of these new ideals to us and giving us a chance to talk with you about it.
I appreciate you, Dave, and trying to, hone in on what I was saying, and you got to the point pretty good. So good. A lot better than I could say it.
When is your book going to be out?
So my book is on the last stage of editing. Like I gotta go through a second time of the second editing process. after the first edit, and you're like, oh, I remember this, and I remember this. I want this here. Kind of like puzzle it where you want it. I'm at
Right.
that spot right now. So everything is there, and I'd say probably by. I was hoping it would be out by my birthday, but that didn't happen. So hopefully by January next year. That's my
Well,
next goal.
good luck with that. We hope that you get it out and you're successful with it.
It's already written. It's already written. It's just I gotta put the puzzle pieces together where I want it to fit.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Phil, and thank you all for tuning in and spending some time here with us. The show is about opening our minds, exploring the possibilities, looking at some of the different thoughts tonight. The concept that maybe these ley lines, invisible lines that encompass the earth, maybe they are real. Maybe there is this network of quartz crystal that works like a transmitter or receiver around the planet, allowing for us to have these experiences. Also interesting, could we be hearing and experiencing things from the other side of the planet that are going around the circumference of the planet, messages that are being sent and forwarded? Maybe this is how the ancients, the Egyptians, the Aztecs, the Mayans, they were able to communicate by spreading this word through this prehistoric version of an internet that already existed within our planet. I've talked about that for a long time, wondering if there wasn't some signal that was already being sent out, maybe inadvertently or with purpose, that these cultures were picking up on, that they were able to tap into, and they had found that messenger. And it could be all around us. Just something to chew on. Fascinating conversations, fascinating talks. And I pray that the darkness of this world is just a little brighter with the information and ideas that we bring forth on this program. And thank you for making me a part of your world. I'll be back again with you next Monday. Scotty Davis is going to be here with me. We'll take your emails. So send me your questions, your paranormal experiences, anything that you'd like Scott to weigh in on. Send it to dave@paranormal60.com. And until then, we will see you. Be safe and just know your Dave loves you. We'll talk to you again real soon, right here on the Paranormal 60.